Welcome to the Fitness Competitor's Guide. For this week's skill of the week, we'll be going over the split. I couldn't do my splits until my mid-20s, and I still have to consistently work on it. So I just wanted to show people the routine I go through to maintain my flexibility. So for this split routine, you'll want 2 blocks to support yourself, and also some kind of pad. If you don't have a pad, you could use a pillow, roll up a yoga mat, anything that can be a nice wide and supportive cushion. So first thing is we're going to go into a lunge to stretch our hip flexor of the back leg. So lean into a little bit, and you're going to lift your chest up and try to really feel a good deep stretch in your hip flexor. If you want to deepen that stretch more, you can squeeze your glute a little bit, right? Activate the opposing muscle. And sit up nice and tall. Remember, this is for your hip flexor. And then you can also get an extra side stretch in there by lifting up your arm and gently bending over. And next, we're going to lean into that leg just a little more, lifting up the chest just a little more, deepening that stretch in the hip flexor. After that, you want to lean over the front leg. You can get a nice stretch in your piriformis this way. I think it's your piriformis. I can't remember. Anyways, you should get a good stretch still in that area of that hip flexor. And now we are going to move into the front leg a bit. So first thing actually is we're going to drop open that knee, and we're going to go into our elbows. You should feel a pretty good stretch in your glutes around here. If it's too much, grab the yoga blocks and use it as support. And once you sat in that position for a bit and you're feeling pretty good, you are going to push back. Hello, Elaine. We're going to push back. Yes, there we go. And straighten our front leg. While you're in this position, you really want to keep that front leg straight, keep it nice and keep it engaged, and also keep it engaged at the hip. Get some active flexibility over there. You can see that I was using the yoga blocks and then opted to remove them because I was actually feeling pretty good about where I was and I wanted to deepen this stretch a bit. Also note that for the most part, I'm trying to keep my back as straight as possible so that I can keep the stretch in my hamstring. And now I'm preparing to go into my split. So I've gotten my yoga blocks for extra support, straighten out that front leg, and I am just holding it to where it is just a little bit uncomfortable. You probably can't see it that well in this video, but I am actively engaging both that front hip and my back glute. And that's because I am trying to send the right signals to the muscles that are being stretched to relax more, right? So if you're activating the opposite muscle, then that will help relax the muscle that is being stretched. And I like to approach my stretching in the same way that I approach weightlifting. And what I mean by that is that when you are stretching a muscle, you are also challenging its ability to return to a normal position in that stretched end range position. So you are trying to teach it to be strong that way. And if it's not feeling strong, then it'll signal to your body that, hey, we shouldn't be in this position, and that's where you get that pain and get that resistance. With that in mind, you can apply the philosophy of progressive overload to your flexibility training in the same way that you might start off with some lower weight and gradually increase the weight to make your muscles stronger and bigger. You can do the same with making your muscles stronger in those end range positions. When it comes to the front split, the way you would apply that philosophy is by lessening the amount of weight that your front legs, hamstring, and your back legs, hip flexor, have to take to be able to return to a neutral position. And we do that simply by placing our hands on the ground and having our hands take as much of the weight as possible. Of course, if you're not very strong in a very wide position, then you can use the yoga blocks as I have been doing in this demonstration. And now we're going to go into a very deep hip flexor stretch. I'm grabbing my pad and putting one knee up on it to protect my knee, putting my foot against the wall and getting to like a lunge position. I'm starting off bent over my knee just to sort of feel out where I feel comfortable and get set. And now that I have found where I'm comfortable, I'm beginning to push up a little bit, and I'm trying to get my glute all the way to my foot and really trying to stand up straight. This will be a very deep and probably painful stretch if you're not very flexible there. And so you might want to, you really want to take deep breaths and go as far only as is a little uncomfortable. And if this is already too much for you or a lot for you, then don't go do the next exercise. Just stay here. I promise you, if you just work on this position for a few minutes every day, you will be able to move on and stretch a lot more in just a week or two. So next, I am now bending over and deepening the stretch by pulling against my back leg. This is also a nice way to just sort of work on some stability on my front leg, and it also prepares actually my front leg for a future stretch that we'll be doing. Now I'm straightening up again, deepening that stretch. Really just relaxing and humming a song in my head so that I can forget about what's going on here. Occasionally I might just, for the fun of it, twist around, feel the stretch in sort of different areas of my leg and my back. And so this is going to be the most intense part, and I'm now going to move into my front hamstring. Again, if you are very uncomfortable in any of the earlier stretches, I wouldn't really try this one unless you grab some yoga blocks or put a pad directly underneath the leg to support it and make it a lot easier. The goal here is to get your butt and your front leg all the way down to the ground. You can still see I'm still working on it. I wish I had some progress pictures and videos of where I was before, but I've only been doing this routine actually for about a month and a half, and I was pretty much like 2 feet off the ground, and now you can see I'm a lot closer. And at this point, I realized my fingers were very tired, so I decided to go grab my yoga blocks to make it a bit easier to support myself. And we're back at it. Now, I'm switching back to my other leg because for some reason, it doesn't matter which leg I start with, the second leg always feels a bit more flexible, so I like to go back to that other leg and touch it up essentially. And now we're going back to working on the splits again, since we've just done some very intense front and back hamstring work. This is where your pad or pillow or rolled up yoga mat is going to come in handy. You're going to stick that pillow below the front leg to support it, and if you need it, grab some yoga blocks for extra support. So this is a very comfortable way to relax into your split. Just like I was saying earlier, you want to be able to take the weight off of your legs, and one way to do that is essentially having the ground do it for you, because the ground is very strong. And finally, we are just going to work on our split. At this point, your hip flexor and your hamstrings should be pretty loose and ready to take on the split. So just slide into it nice and easy. You can use your hand as support still, and hopefully you can eventually just take it off and breathe into it. And as a tip for how you want to incorporate this in your routine, you either want it to be something very quick that you get in and out of so it doesn't take away from the energy of your routine, or you want to be able to hold it in a way that matches your music, so maybe the slower part or something that is really like drawn out. And additionally, if you want to hold it for a little bit longer, make sure you do something interesting with your arms, your facial expressions, just to keep the energy going. And that's it for this video. Hope you found it useful and you can get stretchy too. And I'll catch you all later. Bye!